Hello my friends, what is a Commando? That is the first question. That is this. This is the Rotary Commando Pilot Automatic. What is a Commando as well, other than the name of that watch? I had to do a little bit of research. I initially thought it was going without underpants. Obviously that is not the answer. Then I thought, is it Arnold Schwarzenegger in the film Commando? One of my favourite films of all time from the 80s. Now, it's not either of those, really. The real origins of Commando is it's actually a British thing. Formed in the 1940s, it's an elite squad doing reconnaissance and special missions, effectively, and been around ever since then. So, can this Rotary tap into that essence of Commando in some form or another? Or is it just a name they've stuck on a watch just to try and sell some more watches, basically? So that's what we're going to cover in today's review. So let's get on with it. Now, before we get into the nitty gritty, let's get on with the stats and specs. So I'll do a fast forward through all this bit just to help you out. So to further add to those quick measurements given for this watch, 100 meters water resist, sapphire crystal, Lume in the hands, Miyota, dirt cheap basic 8215 movement with a tiny date window, screw down crown to aid for the 100 meters of water resistance, lovely leather strap with a strong taper after you get to here, and then it's all made out of 316L stainless steel, and that's about covering all your stats and specs. Now let's start this show with discussing the things I'm not quite 100% certain on about this piece, then we'll move on to the rest. So let's start with the fact it's called Commando. Now, I don't think modern day commandos would wear a watch like this. If they're doing these elite, high risk, high danger, high intensity missions, I'm not saying this watch isn't going to be tough enough for the task, but they're more likely to be wearing something far more appropriate tactical that is more contemporary, Casio G-Shocks, Garmin, things like that, all those kind of tough, rugged, do anything watches with far more timing and other data capabilities potential. For people that want to just sort of have that feel and essence of being Commando, other than not wearing their underpants, I don't think this is still up to the task. I can't imagine how this can correlate to the watches of old, because it's got a real hybrid blend of so many elements. It's got the look of some IWC watches. It's got bits of Flieger dial, type A I think it is, when it's got the Arabics. In this sort of design, chunky case. It's got a little bit of look about an old Amiga, the RAF pilot watches, for example, but really has kind of a blend of looks. I mean, it doesn't have the sword hands or anything like that that you get with the IWC. I think it's sword hands, but these are more like fence post hands. I love the legibility. That's really good. The black and the white contrasting really well together. But I just don't think it doesn't scream Commando to me. It just looks like a fairly generic, slightly old-fashioned pilot watch. The size is good for that. I mean, it does make it legible and easy to read. It's got the more vintage look here with these studs you get, the rivets, and the old pilot watches used to have in the 40s and 50s, etc. That was more initially of a practical element, whereas now it's just for aesthetics, it has zero functionality in a modern watch. I think it just needs to have something which is either going to be, let's go down the road of super contemporary with the essence of these old style Commando watches or pilot watches, etc. Or they're going to go down the full, let's do a reissue looking watch. This is kind of a bit of both, but I don't think it does either of that well enough. I think if they're going to go down the road of old vintage 40s and 50s watches, I love it if they did something like that old Amiga, for example. I love that. And the price is disappointing when you consider the fact it has got that ultra basic Miyota. As you can see straight away, it's got the old spinny rotor, which sounds like an angry box of kittens when it's spinning. Another thing I noticed as well, it's got the usual, there's nothing actually wrong with it because I put it on my time grapher, by the way, so it does keep good time. It has a very juddery, jumpy, erratic seconds tick. And another thing, when you're winding the movement, sometimes the hand stops, sometimes it jumps forward, sometimes it pauses and then leaps forward. And there isn't actually anything wrong with that. I've been on the old forums and double checked, and it's actually a common trait with this movement. So I just think that just makes it feel quite clunky and cheap. Yes, it's rugged and reliable, but I just don't like that. I just like something that's got a little bit more finesse to it when I'm spending nearly £300 on a watch like this. It's what you get with the Miyota, unfortunately. It's a bit hit and miss. Some people say, oh, I've had 500,000 of these movements and they've all been fine. This is fine, it's just not that refined. And the same with all these movements. You get an alarmingly small date window, which is so far over because it's designed often for smaller watches. In a larger watch like this, it's quite far over, so they've had room to luckily put that little dash in there at the 3 o'clock. Otherwise, it would have looked lost floating around right over here on the near the middle of the dial almost. So it's a little bit weird. We can move on to the things I think are great about this watch. Legibility. It is so clear. I'd love it if this had a full lume dial, especially at nearly 300 quid. They could do it on a £30 Loris. I think they'd be good if they did it on a nearly £300 Rotary. That would make it really contemporary to go, well, pilot watches, legibility is key. If it's a field watch, if you are a Commando, you're on tactical elite missions and you want to see your watch, a full lume dial would be good, but it would definitely give your location away and you'll be sniped by the bad guys pretty quick. So maybe it's good that it's only got lume in the hands. It's saving your life. I love this chunky crown. Very appropriate, in keeping with the old style pilot watches as well. Nearly 8mm crown. Really nice and easy to grab onto, but unfortunately, like I said before, the feel through the crown and the action is not that nice. It's just a little bit gritty and grainy. Winding in is nice and easy. It bites and catches every time. And the fact it's screwed down gives you that 100 meters of water resist, so you can go jumping in puddles and this won't get ruined as long as you've screwed that crown in. But the leather strap might get absolutely knackered in the process, but you could easily swap it out to a rubber strap if you wanted, or a canvas, NATO, of course. Loads of different options you could swap this out to, but I do like this standard strap. It's gorgeous, well made, good quality, soft, supple, nice texture on the grain, chunky stitching, and the tan goes really well with the white dial. Really nice. And I do love these rivets, the brush finish going with the brush case. And just to break up all this brushed elements, I do like all the polish. Just to break it up, the polished bezel here, little chamfers here on the edges of the case from the top to the mid case, really nicely done. A little bit of polishing going on here on the screw down exhibition case back. Not 100% certain I like polished case backs because they just get scratched and sweaty looking very easily. Bit of shine on the back is interesting, I suppose, but I don't think it needs an exhibition case back. And Miyota's not a pretty movement. Would have been nice if they'd maybe had this as a full brushed case back, no exhibition, and some kind of awesome Commando motif or something on the back. Don't you think that would have been cool? Am I just being stupid here? Really nice brushing on here actually. It's very smooth, consistent, really well made. I do like the fact it's got a little sign crown on there with the Rotary symbol, but it's logo, sorry. Not that clear to see, but it's nice that it's there. A little attention to detail. I love that it's British design, but I don't think they've had to scratch their heads too much to get this design put together. It's kind of a cut and paste with lots of different elements, but they've done a good job at making it work. It could have easily been a mess, but it's very good. The length of the hands, the legibility, like I said before, and it's something that it just draws people's attention. And the little splash of colour with the red on that lovely long, big seconds hand, obviously highlighting the juddery movement sometimes, but then the red Commando there, really cool. I do like that. Really comfortable. The weight is less than 100 grams. Just on the cusp of being a bit too big. It's got a long lug to lug, nearly 52mm. That is quite long, but it has a nice little bit of a taper on these lugs curving down. And the fact there's a taper on the strap helps it balance out, not look too bulky on the wrist. Polished hardware here, would have preferred if that was brushed to go with this whole toolish military look. But otherwise, I think it just about works for me. I really like it. And it is actually very light and comfortable. It's just when you turn your wrist, sometimes you do hear and feel that rotor spinning inside, which does again cheapen the feel a little bit. Now, let's just quickly show you the lume because it's not breathtaking. It's only on the hands, so you'll get an idea of what you're getting for your nearly 300 quid. Honestly, this has just blown my mind. Look, the Arabics are actually loomed. I didn't know that. Look, this has blown my mind, sorry. I tested the lume, but I didn't notice it before. But look, the Arabics are loomed, even though when you turn the lights on, they are black. And then when you turn the lights out, they glow a bit. That is mental. I'm pleasantly surprised. That is actually really cool. I'm going to improve my feeling about this watch just about another 20%. So there you have it. I'm not giving this a glowing review as much as I would like to because I'm always grateful to a brand reaching out to me and saying, can we send you a watch? Please review it. Now, I've got to always be honest, and I always am, and my review for this watch has not been glowing because I have given the reasons throughout this review. But just to recap, For about £280, I don't think this offers the value for money that Rotary are known for. This isn't that far off some of their Swiss-made watches, which they have on their own website, which they discount down to not much more than £300, some of them. So I'm thinking a very basic, generic-looking watch. Very cool though, I do like it, but with a very cheap Miyota movement, which doesn't have that little bit of extra pizzazz to warrant the price. It's just a bit too much money in my eyes. But it is a cool watch. Now, if you don't mind splashing out, want a British design watch, a British brand watch, go for it. Happy days. If you've loved this review and you want to see more of me, and you already are a subscriber, thank you. But if you haven't done that, please do. Much appreciated. I have a target in mind I want to get to, and that's 11 million subscribers. So I'm a bit of a way off, but please help me out. Otherwise, thanks for coming. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.